So today we're going to talk about why toddlers seem to always be sick and what we're doing to kind of maintain our sanity in this house when our toddler is sick. So for context, our son is now 2.5 years old. He's been going to daycare since he was 1.5 years. The first daycare that he went to part-time was a home daycare, which was really lovely, only 4 kids. So not that many germs and situations happening. So it was really great. He never got sick. He rarely got sick. And now he's since started going to a school, like a preschool program. And at that preschool program, it's in a school environment. It is a school and a larger classrooms. I think they're like 10 or something in their class. And so, yeah, what that means is he has 10 opportunities of getting sick in addition to everything else around him there, right? So anyways, we have seen an increase in how sick he is since he started going to the school last fall. And I would say like every other week he's sick with something, varying degrees of severity, but he's been sick very consistently in the last couple of months, which honestly, you guys, I can't. Yeah, so I would say like even the last sickness that he's had, which was a viral rash with fevers, I think it was hand, foot, and mouth disease, and it was just so hard to watch him. He had sores on his throat, he had a rash on his legs, on his hands. It was just a lot, and fevers. That illness ended, let's say, on a Friday. By Tuesday, he got something else. That's how real life is here. So my husband and I both work from home. My husband works at a company that is relatively kind to their employees in terms of they've got like a pretty generous, you know, caregiver days and personal days and that type of thing. So if we need to kind of grab him for something, he's available. But for the most part, I'm the one who manages both sick days. I work for myself, also from home, and I get to create my own schedule. However, in my case, I'm learning that it's actually affecting my work. So every time I'm like managing Bo, I'm defaulting on some client work, which I'm hoping this year to kind of rechange. And as a family, we're gonna try and manage that better. Anyways, so I wanted to talk about why I think these kids are always sick. So the first reason I think is because obviously they are little immune systems. Their little immune systems are growing, developing, and so they're of course susceptible to just new things because they've never experienced or lived through anything really. So of course their bodies are going to react whenever some foreign bacteria or virus comes into their body because they've basically been new to this world, right? Now, the second thing is that because they are new and young and babies, it is so vital that parents keep your child at home when your child is sick, especially if your child is clearly got fevers and is like lethargic and stuff. Like, I don't understand why people send their kids to school like that. I mean, it sounds really insensitive. I get that we all have to work and life is lifing, but to be quite honest, what happens is that in the long run, everybody suffers. You suffer, so your child is sick and they probably need cuddles or something, and you basically will end up reinfecting your household with that same illness that your child has, because your kid will go to school, pass it to another kid. That kid, by the time they finish, they'll pass it back to your kid, and then nobody wins. Whereas if we all try to manage the way we did during the past couple of years, we learned how to kind of stay home when we're sick, blah, blah, blah. We should use the same rules, I think, because, yeah, the struggle is really real. Now, I get that toddlers are always sick just by nature of who they are. But yeah, I think there's something we can all do collectively to make it better. So this is a PSA. If you're one of those parents who's sending your kid to school when you can keep them at home when they're sick, honestly, I'm judging. Yeah, the next thing obviously is that kids are gross. So kids basically put everything in their mouths. They touch things. They don't wash their hands unless if you force them sometimes. You know, kids are little germies, like there are germs. And so of course they're going to be more sick. And then they kind of, like my son has this friend at school who every time we get into the classroom, this little boy basically just is all over my son, like just all over him, loves him to death. And so, of course, if that kid has something, then my kid's gonna get something, and vice versa, really. Because my son is also very, very touchy, huggy, and everything. So yeah, he will definitely pass along whatever he has to the next person or the next friend. So yeah, kids are germs. Now, how we've been managing the situation. There are a number of things that we've been doing, preventatively doing, to manage the situation of making sure our kid is set up well. And then there's also a bunch of things we've been doing to manage when our kid gets sick. So in terms of preventative care, the first thing we've been doing for preventative care has been diet and nutrition. I really pay attention to what my kid is eating. I make sure that as much as possible, making sure he gets a nice, colorful, balanced meal, especially when he's not sick. In our situation, we are lucky in that right now, our kid is comfortable and interested in vegetables. He loves tomatoes, he loves greens, and So I try to make sure that we sneak in as much as we can. And then the other thing that's also helpful is that having smoothies and then throwing in whatever you want to throw in that smoothie is a really neat idea. So if you have any type of greens, if your kid has a difficult time doing greens, just throwing in some type of green thing in a delicious smoothie, I guarantee your kid will drink it. The other thing we've been doing is giving him a multivitamin. I'm not going to show you guys what the multivitamin is because of the fact that I don't want to act like I'm recommending a vitamin to you guys, because I am not a physician. You should talk to your pediatricians, your doctors, and ask them if you want to supplement your kids' vitamins, and they will for sure recommend something to you. We've been supplementing with a multivitamin, and then recently I've started giving him vitamin C because I feel like I wish I had actually thought of the vitamin C thing way before, because my mom told me about this and I didn't listen to my mom, but I should have. But I think especially in this part of the world where there's a long winter and you're kind of managing a sick child, it's just important and just helps them along in terms of like building their immune system. And then you can also supplement vitamin C in terms of like just increasing the sources of vitamin C foods that you have, and that applies to any vitamins really in the kitchen, right? So now let's talk about when your kid is actually sick and you need to kind of soothe them through the process and deal with it. So the first thing I'll say when it comes to just taking care of the situation once you're in the situation of a sick child is comfort. So save yourself time and just pretty much say yes to most things, right? So at this stage, they're pretty much like just sick, you know? All of us, when we're sick, we just kind of need to sit down and watch TV kind of thing. I'm not suggesting that you put your kid in front of TV, but I'm just saying think of the things that comfort your kid. Like if they have soft animals, so like in Bo's case, he loves Buddy. This is Buddy. And so just making sure that he always has Buddy. Just making sure that any toys or things that he loves to play with are just close by is key. Like just comfort your kid, right? Like whatever that is, just make sure you do that. And yeah, you can have them indulge in things like watching a favorite show, like maybe 20 minutes or whatever time period you guys do for TV. Let them watch something they like that day so that they feel comforted. The next thing is hydration. So when your kid is sick, just make sure you give your kid water. At this stage, they probably are not eating properly, and so you need to make sure that they're actually drinking something, because I used to think that if your kid doesn't eat, oh my God, it's terrible. But what's worse is when your kid doesn't drink anything, because dehydration is what actually it could, yeah, it's not a good thing for anyone, but certainly kids to be dehydrated. Just find ways to make sure your kid is hydrated. In our case, our kid loves water, so we just kind of keep giving him water. Just have 2 water bottles out close by in each room, or in each room there's a water bottle, just so that he can have something to drink. And you have to prompt them to drink because they're not going to necessarily proactively do it all the time. And so making sure your kid is hydrated is important. And then tied to that, you could actually use popsicles. You could make your own popsicles, you could buy popsicles, but popsicles are great for kids, especially when they have sore throats and are just feeling sick. Our son had sores in his throat this last bout of illness, and so we just use a lot of popsicle to just make him feel better, to feel soothed. And yeah. The next thing is elevating your child's head when they're sleeping. I find that when our kid is lying flat, he doesn't have good breathing when he's sick. And so I actually intentionally prop him up a little bit more when he is sick so that he can have better breathing capacity. And he seems to be able to, sleep better when he's elevated compared to when he's not. The next thing is a steamy bath or a steamy shower. So I found that eucalyptus is amazing for when you're sick, for as an adult, but also for kids. We are comfortable using essential oils like that on our kid, but of course you can ask your doctor if that's okay. In our case, we put a couple of drops in his bath and it just helps, you know, just helps clear his sinuses. You close the door in the bathroom and then it's kind of like a steamy bath. And yeah, we totally kind of swear by this. And we also, when he's really congested, we also use the vapor rubs and stuff like that. Again, I'm not gonna tell you to use these things on your kid. Ask your doctor first and then they will tell you if that's okay, but we do this for our kid. And we put it on his feet and we put it on his chest and his back. And yeah, it's what we do. So our son doesn't know how to blow his nose yet. We haven't been able to solve this problem and hoping that he will start blowing his nose soon. But when he was a kid, I know sometimes I used to use one of those aspirators or saline to put little drops of saline solution into his nose and then aspirate. But I honestly never got great success with it. Some parents do, but if that works for you, good for you. But I'm hoping my son learns how to blow his nose soon because it would really help his life and mine too. Humidifier. Getting a humidifier is actually really great. Humidity actually helps with your breathing when you're sick. And so I think that investing in something like a humidifier, if you don't have one, is important. So a humidifier will definitely help with your breathing and your kids' breathing when they're sick, especially when they're feeling congested and they can't breathe. It's usually sometimes because of the air is too dry. So just the moisture will help them along, especially at night. As far as food is concerned, the other thing I'll say about that is, so give them soft foods when they're sick. Things like mashed potatoes, yogurt go a long way for kids when they're sick, I think, certainly with our kid. And I think it just prevents them being scratchy on their throats and everything like that because they can't tell you exactly what they're feeling at this stage. So you kind of have to assume they might be having a sore throat. So you don't want to give them, you know, something that's super scratchy and then you're just aggravating their throat and delaying the healing for their throat. So the other thing I'll say is the art of distraction when your child is sick is key. I mean, it is key when they're not sick, but I think particularly when they're sick and they're really in pain, just giving them something to take their mind off their pain is important. Find activities, get like these color kits or these craft kits or something like that is a fun thing. Let them play with their favorite toy. Like my son right now is into playing soccer, so we kick the ball or play like golf in the house or something like that. Things that just get them happy and excited about something else and take their minds off being sick. And then of course, for you as the parent, just stay calm. Don't be like freaking out every time your child is crying, because sometimes they're just crying because they're sick and they just don't know how to manage their emotions yet. And I think modeling your emotions goes a long way. I think sometimes it can feel overwhelming to be managing a sick child, and then you kind of also either go where they're at and start being emotional too and crying, or you start yelling or something. Just try to be calm. It's not a big deal. They're sick. This is part of life, the circle of life. And so just remember that it'll also pass very soon. It doesn't feel that way in the moment, but it will pass. And yeah, just stock up on all the things that you need, like the essentials. When you're going to bed, just have all the things you need, your thermometers, if you're giving any type of painkiller thing or whatever, just keep them in a handy place so that you can just reach them conveniently when you need them for them. And yeah, that's what I'll say. I think it's been really hard managing a toddler when it comes to the sick part of it all, but I also now understand that it is the circle of life, and we are, you know, at some point we'll be talking about all this and saying, oh my God, remember how you'd always be sick every time? But until then, this is what I got. Let me know what you guys do when your kids are sick, and if you have any hacks and tricks and tips about it, I would love to hear them, because yeah, we're all just trying our best out here, right? I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.